at the Research Heights Foundation's National Seminar on Empowering India's Research Future. In fact, whatever I wanted to tell has already been told. In fact, both the Honorable Vice President speech as well as Dr. Satish Reddy's speech, every point that I wanted to touch has been touched. So I am really speechless now and topicless today to address you or speak to you. But then I thought that I will find out who are here, and then possibly we will have some ideas exchanged by the time we start discussing. So I would like to understand the audience before I speak. I want to know that there are how many research scholars here sitting? Anyone who are a research scholar, can you raise your hand? Yes. Still students who are not yet researchers. They are students but not yet researchers. Faculty? Teachers. Oh, they are the majority. Okay. So it is like speaking to the horse mouth, you know. Faculty already knows what they are supposed to do, hopefully. And giving a lecturing into their minds possibly won't be a right idea, because they have been lecturing to people all the time, all their lives, I believe. Is it not? So anyway, today you are going to listen to these lectures and possibly gain some insights on how do you really improve the research ecosystem. I think all of us understand research is a very interesting domain. Yes, and where it has been very clearly told what exactly are the domains of research and why do we really do research is a very questionable thing. And fundamentally, the whole purpose of research is not just academic growth alone. It is a curiosity that actually leads to research, right? Everyone's curiosity to understand the world around us, translate whatever you understand into systems, possibly for advancing knowledge, or converting to make our life comfortable, better, possibly convert that into models or systems that will actually give you returns of the investment in terms of businesses, income, so that you can invest and create a better lifestyle and life for everyone around it, make nations and systems grow, or meet the ambitions of someone to conquer, or all of these are the elements that contribute to research, right? But then what is happening in the world in the last so many years, and also what is going to happen in the future? I would like to little discuss about it and possibly get into some question answers maybe at the end of the time allocated to me. But the time allocated to me is quite long, so you should bear with me. And before I think you break for lunch, I think I need to offer you that possibility much faster, I believe. Now, one of the important points which I want to tell you, the rate of change of the world in terms of technology growth is actually increasing continuously. We use the terminology called exponential. I think all of us are scientists, we understand the meaning of exponential. Exponential is not, it is not in terms of multiplication. It is power of E, which is much, the rate of expansion is proportional to itself. So when it actually increases, that rate, things are moving at tremendous speeds. And the speed is what is making it very interesting to the new generation. And I will discuss this aspect little deeper. Possibly for humanity, if you really look at in the past, things were happening very, very slow. Adaptation of human beings to the changes were much more comfortable. Now, when things changes around it, a generation goes through it without actually knowing it. Maybe one or two new things that you learn in your lifetime, and then you vanish. Next generation comes up, they learn a little more tricks and better lives you enjoy, and then go to next generation. But the present generation is one which is actually seeing things happening. Within one generation itself, so much of changes that is happening. For example, my generation, we never knew about the revolution of the communication in our younger age. There was telephones, not seen in my younger age, in my boyhood. I had never seen a telephone, I had never seen a television, I had not seen all these type of stuff that you are talking about today. But today I am at it. I am fully involved in it and looking at something which is far beyond it. What type of changes have happened in just last few tens of years? And this exponential rate of change is what is making it is more interesting. And it is also equally interesting for researchers which are coming into this domain. Also look at the type of understanding that you have developed, knowledge that you have developed on various aspects. For example, I come from space domain, space technology. In the last 30, 40 years, in the history of space program, which could be hundreds of years, right from the concept of rockets that came in, today we know about the universe in much, much greater detail than we ever had in the history of the humanity. In just less 30 years. And the rate of expansion of this knowledge is actually much, much higher in the coming days. It is equally for various things. For example, understanding genomics, our way how humans are constructed or even life forms are constructed. Today we know it much more detail than ever it was. But the challenge today is that you have an idea, you have a research idea, and the research idea has to convert it into something that is tangible, possibly convert it into something like a product, go into business and markets and bring in revenue, support. This whole cycle, process is now very fast. One of the example is that, for example, all of you know the locomotion. You know how the locomotion changed over the years, right from the bullock carts to wheels, then the steam, then to the IC engines, now the other forms of locomotion. You look at the way the technology stayed in the business side for such a long time. But then now the timelines are now crunching. Now we are talking about what type of locomotion? I believe that you are talking about electric locomotion. No, you are now slowly moving away from the traditional internal combustion engine based locomotion or turbine based locomotion to the one which will be powered by electrical things, possibly by green technologies. So this is one of and the residence time of each of them is much, much smaller. It is true in terms of computation. You all know about Professor Rao is here, so we are talking about his contribution to the Moore's law. I was reading his article this morning. So he is the one who has contributed to building electronics revolution, and the rate at which the computation capabilities of chips and systems have increased dramatically over the years. And today we demand for them is so high, and it is actually going to increase at a faster rate than it was in the past. So this is one challenge that things are changing faster. I think one of the important questions that we need to ask as researchers is what all things are going to extinct tomorrow? As a researcher, for example, you would have seen things around you, for example, radios, valve radios. I saw that in my younger childhood. Then came the radio which is based on transistors. Transistors came, and I had a small radio of Telefunken. I don't know you heard about the company. In my home, which I used to tune, and then came various forms of radio, and the radio itself became so small sometime later, software-defined radios and software radios, and all on a sudden radios vanished, and radios have now come inside this mobile phone. So all radio stations of the world now can be tuned in the mobile phone. I used to have a camera, which is again film-loaded camera, which I used to take photos during my honeymoon days, and now I don't have a camera at all. No, the camera also has gone into it. And so many things have gone into it. My alarm clock, which I used to use for my early morning wake up for my studies, there is no alarm clock at home now because alarm clock is also in the mobile phones. Now I used to have so many things, a notebook to write my telephone numbers of all my good friends so that I keep it here and then read and then write. And now that book is also vanished. That book also has gone into this mobile phone. So I used to have a pen to note down things. There is no need to have a pen now because everything can be noted down on this. My schedules, my details, my data, my certificates, my travel documents. You tell what it is, it's all inside this. So I'm asking you a question. What will be the next device that will vanish and that will be absorbed into this stuff called the mobile phone? Everything around you will be absorbed. Slowly, it is a magical device which is absorbing things around you into itself and slowly growing to become a giant that will control you, devise you. For example, this question I want to ask you in front of you. Now, I am just telling a story for you to excite only. A mobile phone, how long this mobile phone is going to last? Next 5 years, 10 years? Anyone has an idea? And if the mobile phone is not going to last that long, what is going to replace it? Can anyone predict? AI is not a device. AI is a tool. I think this is another question that we will discuss a little later. Huh? AR, VR. Okay, AR, VR. So all of us will wear a goggle like this and then walk on the streets and collide with each other. That's what you are going to tell? You will be watching a movie and walking we call it Sopna and dream walk. Huh? We will be doing dream walk. No. Something else will come. Wearables are already there. Wearables getting connected in various ways and then connected to the devices are already there. What will happen? Pardon, this will get absorbed into your body. It's a great idea. It's a great idea that telephones will no longer be present as a physical devices in front of you. Possibly, it will be there with you in some unseen form. And you will be talking and you will be seeing people who are talking to no one. and possibly they are knowing everything. And like that, those scenes will come. But there is some thought that, what will happen really emerge is going to be a companion, which will be a robot. People say, and this is an idea which I want to discuss. Assume that there is a robot going to replace this mobile phone with you, because there is a reason for it. Because things that you cannot still absorb into a mobile phone is something which I am looking at. There are so many things that it has absorbed into it. Your television has now come into it, radio has come, clock has come, typewriter has come, computer has come, cameras have come, everything else have come into it. The voice recorder has come. Everything has come. Now, what has not come into it? There are things that you do otherwise. For example, cleaning a home, cooking your food, teaching you a lesson, taking a class in music and yoga or spirituality, or a language class. Who will teach you now? Some teacher has to come. Now, think of a device that will take the roles of that also with the roles of the mobile phone. That will be nothing but a robot. So you think of a companion robot, everybody will have a small dog or a pet cat like a robot, and you will buy that from the shop. And that will be your mobile phone. It will schedule all your meetings, discussions, plans, everything. It will also have all those details that the mobile phone is having. It will show you television, movie, program. It will schedule everything for you. It knows what is your most interesting program. At the moment you reach the home, it will switch on all the lights and fans and things like that, and go and prepare the tea for you immediately, and take the cookies that you love most. And because it knows, it has already learned what all things are you most like. Your shoe, if you throw away, it will simply take it and pick it up and put it at the right place, because it knows where it has to be put. And it will also water the plants on that day, because it observed and found those plants are now a little drying, so it will take some water and pour there. And also switch on the TV immediately, because switching on the TV is all not done all remotely now. It will tune the program which you want to take. While you take tea, it knows that this is the program that you generally watch. It will switch on and bring that TV in front of you so that you can watch. Possibly the TV is not in the TV that you saw. It will be somewhere on the walls. And whenever you move, the TV will move from one wall to the another wall, so that even if when you go around, the TV will be visible to you. That will be the type of home that you live. And you will be going on giving instructions. If at all you are to give, possibly you don't have to even give instructions. Your movement will indicate to the robot what exactly is the intent of you, and it will do what it is needed for you. And you thought that this evening is good for learning a little bit music. It will immediately set ready, and the robot will teach you the music class, because it knows everything. The robot is equipped with all the language, all the technologies, all the knowledge, because it is connected to the global web. And it knows how to handle all of this. It will teach you the music, and suddenly you thought that now it's a time to pray to the God, and some good spiritual teaching has to come. It will teach you that also. Maybe a yoga exercise, but the robot will not be able to do that type of yoga, but still it will teach you what type of postures are there. Or possibly project it of the renowned yoga teachers' postures right on the wall, so that you can actually watch and do the yoga. And it will clean the house after you have taken rest. It will prepare your clothes. It will order the food which is not there in the fridge from the nearest food delivery app, so that you have the food right at the door, and it will go and collect that at the door and keep it on the table. But you have to eat. The robot will not eat for you. So I am just telling an imaginary scenarios in which things are likely to change in your life. And this is not for research alone. This is for the way the life is going to change. And all what you are doing is primarily to improve the way in which we live, right? All that you are doing, the technologies that you see around us, and the knowledge that you are creating around us, the growth that is happening in various domains are simply to make human life more comfortable, more productive, so that you have more free time, right? Are you really getting more free time because of the technologies? Yes, I think whoever says no has not understood what technologies means around you. That only thing you need to understand, what was the way in which our previous generations used to live and spend time. Today, if you are saying no because you have taken too much on your head and not known how to delegate it to the other systems that are available here, they are the only ones who says no. But all others will say the technology has made your life much more simpler. And it will continue to make it simpler because you have more other passions to follow. And this is what the primary purpose of the technology is. You will also say this growth, which is now coming all around, is really going to disrupt all of us in a big way. And this is something that all of you need to cash on. Us researchers, teachers who are there in universities. Let me go back to this fundamental issue of research support and research identification, all the fundamental work that we need to do in various domains, translation research which we need to do in various domains. We talked about it quite a bit. I think I don't want to repeat all of that. But what is more important for you people is to identify and then do some research which is more impactful. How do you really do that? Many of the faculty, teachers, students are struggling to find problems which are relevant in the domain to find a utility. This is a bigger issue which is plaguing many of the universities. If you go around, you will find that they search the current literature possibly for 2 years. Many of the students are doing, for researchers who are coming into big university, they spend a literature survey identifying the problem for almost 2 years, which is actually not acceptable at all in the current generation of researchers. How do you really make that problem identification and doing the right type of research in very short time, even before you get admission for the research institution? How do you really identify the problem and then go? And this is where the role of AI and the modern tools will become very useful. AI should not be used for conducting research, but at least to find out what exactly are the domains that you need to work on. The latest of the domain, AI must be utilized. And things are growing towards that direction. And once you have this, your productivity, even while doing research, must significantly improve. So use the tools of AI to identify this. I think all universities now really should be equipped with AI, like what we started when we were young people and when I was doing my engineering. Computer was not there because I graduated in 1985. The personal computers arrived just after that in India. In my college, in one glass room, a computer was kept and we were seeing it through the glass. That is called computer. So we never allowed to touch the computer because now we were in the final year and this computer science people only will touch the computer. And when I joined an institution, ISRO, and there was also no PC at that time. There was only computers like HP 9000 and PDP-11 and many such computers who are used to have punched cards and things like that. And I'm coming from that generation, but today I know how to handle the supercomputers. So everybody got scared at that time, and there was huge resistance at that time. Computers are coming, and computers are going to displace each one of you, and most of you will be jobless, and all those people who are doing the routine work will get relocated. And today there is a great discussion happening on AI, how it is going to disrupt the employment sector. And definitely it is going to disrupt most of the employment sectors. The type of employment which will drop are the employments which will really monotonous, routine, and repetitive. I think all this need to be eliminated because that is how human beings are meant to be. We are finding solutions to remove monotonous, repetitive, and routine works and to create possibility for human beings to do much higher tasks. So all machines, all systems that we find are primarily oriented towards it. That's why you have automobiles, because we don't have to walk. That's why we have aircraft, because we don't have to spend months together in the sea to travel across oceans. That's why you have rockets, so we can go to Moon and Mars. So that's in your research problems. What exactly are the problems that you are going to address on a day-to-day basis? And how do you really formulate some of these issues into your research problems? And what type of breakdown of this can be done to do some research. For example, let us, one of them just now Satish Reddy talked about is the work on cells, electric conversion, energy. Energy is a huge issue for humanity. I think the consumption of energy per capita is a measure of our progress. Is it not? It's a way everybody say that if you are able to consume so much of kilowatt of energy per person, the nation is at the top. If you look at India, the consumption of energy is very, very low compared to the developed nations. Then we somehow use a narrative. We must save energy, use lesser and lesser energy. You should switch off the lights, switch off the fans, air conditioners, so that you can save energy and then use it. I don't know the philosophy itself. We say the more the energy you consume, the better developed nation you are. So the principle should be in terms of creating more availability of energy to be increased rather than constraining you to consume energy lesser, because energy need to be consumed, because that is the only way that you can make your life better. So which are the research domains in the energy? For example, you mentioned about the solar energy conversion. The type of work that you do here are in India are very, very less. For example, I had an opportunity to go to Oxford University last month, and I was talking to an Indian person working there in the domain of perovskites. How those materials can be used to enhance the energy conversion efficiency of solar cells, or typically now in the range of 30 to 30.5, 31% to something like 35%. It's really huge. And I believe some research in that domain is happening in some of the universities here in Hyderabad, hopefully. If you are really on it, it's a top-end research where the materials technology is important, analytical capability is important, research capability is important. I think this is very important domain. Equally important is the energy storage technologies. Energy storage is very important because the daytime you receive solar energies, which is typically around so huge amount of energy we receive, and we actually utilize in terms of conversion of the energy into carbohydrates and various other forms. The natural storage of energy takes place, geological storage takes place, and human also use it in terms of converting it into electricity. But its conversion is still very, very low, and if you are able to grab that whole of energy and store it and then reuse it over a period and a process, this can be really transformational. And there are a lot of technologies has come in the recent times. How do you really store energy in the form of thermal inertia of materials, and accumulated inside, buried, and then slowly recover it over a period of time. And this is a very important research domain, and many of you could actually possibly do in some of these institutes. What type of technologies you can make in terms of mechanical system, electrochemical system, chemical systems, material-based studies, or maybe a thermodynamic cycles which can be incorporated into systems where this energy can be actually harnessed and kept for long duration and slowly taking out when there is a need. And so this is another domain of work. Yet another domain which is emerging is the chemistry domain. Scientifically, this area is hugely commercial potential. It's again based on solar energy. Carbon dioxide is plenty, but then carbon dioxide is the life-giving chemical. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen. Our food is made of it, and most of the chemistry is around these three elements, and nitrogen also. But if you are able to synthesize chemicals based on solar energy chemistry, and this is going to be hugely transformational. How do you really create hydrocarbons using solar energy and synthesize in plants and systems? And this actually harnessing energy. It's equivalent to what you say the plants do in their chlorophyll. Exactly the same technology. Can you mimic it using chemical processes, using solar energy? This is a great way to store it and then convert it into create solar energy based chemicals. For example, if you are able to synthesize methane, I don't know how to do that. Carbon and hydrogen, if you join together with the solar energy, methane is created. It's a huge transformation where you can convert it into, again, as a combustible product and generate energy. It's a technology to store energy. Such possibilities are also there. Now, like this, if you want to talk about so many of these technologies, you will, there is plenty of things that I need to talk about. But then, let me get into yet another domain. That domain is now, very interestingly, is medical. I think all of you know that for a country like us, the medical sciences and treatment protocols are one of the important long-term goals, has already been announced by the government. Supporting a huge population like this, using the technologies, support systems, and research capabilities in this domain becomes important. India today is one of the biggest exporter of generic medicine across the globe, and we have a huge export potential. We have also demonstrated during the COVID-19 time that we are able to synthesize vaccines in India, produce it, and then supply to a large population effectively. It all gives certain amount of confidence to work in it. And also India Genome Mission has started, where we started looking at collecting that genomic footprints of large number of population to really classify and use it as a database for us to plan research and then understand how the treatment protocols can be based on this. All this work is starting all across the country. But then really the research work is required hugely in this domain. How do you really help people to diagnose diseases? And this is still continue to be a very major area. Approaching a hospital, finding a right type of treatment still continues to be a major issue. And one of the few of the technologies which are getting developed, research which is happening is in finding out diagnostic tools which can be distributed at low cost across large number of populations, so that they don't have to actually go to a hospital. The treatment protocol can be decided by little bit skilled people by using this kits which are available. And here is the biggest contribution of AI going to come. AI can actually help people to diagnose this based on symptomatic reasons or small amount of tests which can be done using kits. And this such research, for example, microfluidic based detectors, possibly small measurements that can be done by a low cost devices, a small blood test, a little bit of data that you are able to collect using wearable devices. You will be able to synthesize a medical prognosis based on which that you will be able to support the patient with advices, which can be done by a low-cost healthcare provider. And this is really a huge business opportunity in this country. And how do you really decide and develop such systems in institutions? How you can do a small software development which can actually find ways by which you can detect a certain pattern in a disease. It could be a vector-borne disease, it could be a contagious disease, it could be a physical ailment due to some deficiency there. And most of the diseases are of this class. I think you have a very large type of spread out diseases occasionally occurring like COVID-19. But most of the physical healthcare problems are possibly related to snake bite, dog bite. Even this is a major issue in this country. So how do you really create protocols and help people? And this itself become a huge business possibility. I have an opportunity to see in some of the institutions in this country where the electronics, very microelectronics based diagnosis tools or MEMS based tools, shock tube based medical injection technologies. All these are being developed in some of the startups and companies. And this becomes a huge potential for a country with 1.4 billion of people, where healthcare distribution becomes a major issue. Equally important research is required in domains like education. I think all of you know the education is a very big transformative area, and how do you really implement advanced methods of education in this country? Research is required in that area as well. For example, NEP has even proposed certain skill-based education, multidisciplinary education. Everything has already been postulated. But then unless you create tools for education, and how researchers can contribute to the tools, for example, you look at how students learn technology. Recently, I found that one of the important method of learning is the immersive learning. How do you really conduct experiments using computational tools? Computational methods have emerged in various domains. For example, in chemistry, computational chemistry is a very important advanced area. Computational biology has come. How do you synthesize chemicals and molecules and actually experience them without actually doing experiments? Can you really create similar experiential methods based on computational techniques for school students to conduct experiments and learn actual practical experiments without even having all those systems in the schools? When I was a student in my school, there was no test tube in my school. There was a chemistry lab which used to be like a place which should never enter. There was only cobwebs and things like that in my chemistry lab in my school. And my class teacher will come and say that you have to mix something in test tube. The test tube used to be only the chalk that she used to handle. And she will say that you pour acid into it and then put some salt, etc. But there was no real test tube in my school. So we all learned this in a VR form, AR VR form only. That time there was only imagination was there, nothing else was there. Today we have an ability to show students that yes, now we can actually show them and make them experience these type of things in virtual reality environment. Same is the case with lot of knowledge, advanced knowledge in technology, instruments handling, measurements, and this can be taught to school children only if you are able to create such ideas and then create some startups and incubators where you will be able to put these things together, bring it up to school. I have seen a lot of people trying to do this, but education in the lower and the upper middle level schools has to substantially change with the experiential learning aided by technology in the coming days for people to be prepared to take up future assignments like research. But let me conclude my talk in going into little other domain which is not related to technology, which is not related to the topics which we have discussed. It's more related to institutions and the challenges that we face. Possibly this is not a place to discuss, but still I think that it is very, very important. The research still lacks the type of people that need to come into research is still the one which is not passionate about it. But the people who are left behind in not able to get the right type of employment or possibilities in other domains, they get into research. So this becomes a very important issue in most of the institutions who are actually coming down to do the research. I have seen people with great passion who want to do research because they come into research institutions because they love the subject, they want to learn deeper, they want to find out a career by developing their knowledge and skill in their domain. Some of them though go abroad, some of them live in India and then try to do the research because of the passion. But there is yet another set of people who actually come into institutions because they have no other interest but just to spend time they come. Because they couldn't make their job market, they don't fit very well, so they are coming into such institutions. And recently I have been to Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, which is a premier research institution, where I also been a visiting professor there. The biggest challenge that institution faces today is to get bright young people to come and then do research. When they do conduct interviews, they are continuously telling me that they are not able to find people who are interested to do the research, who have that passion to do research, or rather the type of stuff that they have to do research, the preparedness to do that is not there with them. Okay, let us go there and try it out. And this type of people are coming for research. And when you have such people, there is no possibility that you will find Nobel laureates or such people coming out of this research establishment. There is no hope. The only way that we need to do is to make the researcher's life more exciting. I think this is the only way that we need to do. I think teachers who are guiding, mentors must also identify this, how to make a researcher's life better and more enjoyable. There was a time when researcher's life used to be very miserable because you have seen that when we were doing this PhD, the teachers will torture them. They will give them assignments and sometimes don't fix the problem. They will change the problem after some time. The type of credit that they give to them used to be very, very less. The exposure that they used to get used to be very less. But then even then they struggle, and then over a period of time they were able to complete and get into the PhDs or some topics that they are interested. But today times have changed, the generations have changed, and their likelihood to continue the research is actually going down. And I have seen in many institutions the people who drop out of PhD registration is also very, very high. I think many of the faculty must be knowing about it. And why this is happening is because the environment that you create in institutions still not up to the mark to enthuse a researcher. And this is a huge issue. And how do you really address it? I think this needs to be addressed in various ways. It also has to have a component of monetary benefits because they are at the little later years in their life. Settling the life at that point becomes an important issue. Finding a right type of job opportunity post the research life is also a huge challenge for many of them because able to find a right type of employment or opportunity industry continues to be a huge challenge for researchers, especially PhD holders. For example, I know in India, though there are so many PhD holders who are actually getting employed because of PhD is actually very less. This is a huge issue. And when that issue remains as a huge topic, how do you really enthuse people to get into PhD? So really, where are the issues? Where are the challenges? Why the PhDs are not finding right type of employment? This is primarily because the PhDs who are coming out are not connected to the place where they are likely to be employed. This is an issue. The PhD happens in isolation in academics with the researchers and the students, the researchers and the faculty working in isolation, not really understanding the problem that are faced to which the research need to be focused on. This is primarily the reason. Because I also come from ISRO and we have been recruiting people in ISRO. And the number of PhDs that we recruit are hardly 10 or even less than that in a year. You can understand for a country like this, and when you are recruiting only that many people, and where we graduates, just fresh graduate recruits in 200, 300 people, when PhDs are recruited only 10, then what for they should go for PhD? They better find a job in the undergrad level, maybe in the postgraduate level where they have an interest. And subsequent PhDs bring no benefit to them unless you go to a premier institution and then do PhD. This becomes a huge issue. So I can only say that the research problem in any institution that you actually try out must be identified by a corresponding user community. Who are the user community? The user communities are only industries, startups, businesses which are now likely to use it, or academic institutions which have a secondary interest to scale it up at a later point in time. Without that, I think there is no point in taking up a research problem in an institution and simply increasing the PhD numbers just for the sake of publication. I think many of this becomes a major issue. Second issue is about funding. I think many of the PhD programs lack funding, and support for funding comes out of various funding sources. It could be from a government, it could be from sponsored, sometimes the institution itself gives grants, and these grants keep the work of the researcher going very well as long as the institution wants it, but it really doesn't translate into something very tangible at the end of it. And now the recent announcements that the government has given that it is going to fund research funding to private enterprises in a big way, the 1 lakh crore fund that has been recently announced is really a great hope for me, saying that now the research will be focused on industry-identified problems, and the fundamental work that need to be done will be done in the institutions, which will be possibly those researchers will find a corresponding employment potential or future engagement with such industries. This is a great possibility, and this is where that institutions should focus in the coming days. Otherwise, all the work that you do in creating PhDs will be really go waste. I also want to conclude saying that this research ecosystem in this country also needs leadership. It's not just researchers that alone build the research ecosystem. It is also the scientific leadership in this country. And scientific leadership in various domains are equally important. Those who are sitting here, some of you may be coming from such background. And how do you really create leadership? And Satish Reddy also talked about it in terms of the narratives that we need to put. Because finally, the call for research, funding, support, employability, the economic growth, etc., comes out of these narratives. For me, I will tell you, in ISRO, when we had Chandrayaan 3, you understand the whole ecosystem changed. When we had demonstrated that we are able to go to moon, land in the South Pole of India with our own technology, the entire nation looked at us. Yes, there is an organization which is capable of doing system engineering, development within the country, using our own people coming from institutions within the country, able to do such a fantastic feast. Now the government is willing to come and support it and give funding for long-term programs. So this is exactly the same thing that we need to do. When we looked at recently the success of COVID-19, the vaccine revolution, now government is looking at, now political system is looking at and saying, yes, here is a demonstrated capability that you are able to find, and there are leadership coming and telling about it, and there is a recognition and corresponding investment that is happening. It's also happening in electronics revolution. Electronics industry is now looking at understanding the challenge that automotive industry faced during the COVID-19 time. They were not getting chips required to move the electronics industry substantially faster. And then we realized there is a criticality, and then now talking about investing 70,000 crores in creating an electronic packaging industry and earlier fab industry. But we cannot wait for such events to happen for the next step to be taken. What are the things that we need to do now to overcome the problem which are likely? But there are many domains which I don't want to discuss at this moment because it is a huge forum not to discuss such topics. But unless we identify 5 or 6 of key areas where there is significant funding and investment from government need to come. And this will come only when a set of top minds in this country sit together, frame such principles, and then make it known to the decision makers and policy makers. And this requires leadership to be supported by each one of you. Because your voice, the researchers' voice, the academics' voice must be heard by the policymakers and decision makers. And I am very sure when you come together and discuss here, it is not just not looking at the problems that you are facing. A country grows not by solving small problems, it grows by vision of people. And this vision has to come out of such discussion. If you can identify today out of your own thinking, at least 4 or 5 key areas where we need to invest even before the problem happens, even before some success is demonstrated, and where we need to really create work and output, then we are actually creating a long-term legacy of our discussions and contributions. And that's what I look forward.